Mario Galaxy franchise has some awesome boss battles, and today I've decided to rank the bosses into our top 10. Now, since the bosses in Galaxy 1 and Galaxy 2 are very similar, I decided to merge two games together. So in this top 10 you'll see bosses from Super Mario Galaxy 1 and from Super Mario Galaxy 2. So if you're happy with that, let's get going. And let's start this list underwater. In the Bone-Fin Galaxy, a boned fish will await you. His name, King Fin, or as I like to call him, Bones. In this boss you have to swim throughout the whole battle, and you need to collect shells and throw them at Bones, King Fin, in order to defeat the boss. I like the atmosphere of this boss. It's very dark and very ominous. But the reason as to why this boss is very low is because this boss takes place underwater. And I don't know about you, but I kind of hate Super Mario Galaxy's swim controls. I just find it slow and not responsive enough. So the fact that unless if you have a shell, you're literally moving at a snail's pace throughout the fight, it really knocks this boss down. But still, not a bad start to this list. In the Dusty Gardens Galaxy, Major Burrows will await you. He is a massive Monty Mole that has a spiked shell on his head that he uses to dig into the ground. Mario needs to ground pound to get the boss out of the ground, and Mario can then star spin the boss to defeat it. I love how in the final hit, Major Burrows gets super angry and his eyes glow bright red and his attacks get faster. Although you only need 2 hits to defeat the boss, not the usual 3. I don't know why Nintendo made the boss fight shorter. I mean, just added just one more hit and it would have been fine. But it still is a good boss. Granted, not the most intense fight, but still, the simplest of fights are still very good. And this is the first boss on this list that is from Super Mario Galaxy 2, and it will be a throwback to Super Mario 64. In the Throwback Galaxy you'll go to a very familiar place, Walt's Fortress in Super Mario Galaxy 2. You need to ascend the fortress and at the top you meet the Womp King, just like in Super Mario 64, except in this one, at the top, it's not actually the Womp King, rather it's just a normal regular Womp, like a decoy. Once you've defeated that Womp, the floor opens up and there you will meet the real final boss, the real Womp King. At the start of the battle, the boss will say the same speech as he did when you fought him in Super Mario 64, and you defeat him in the exact same way as he did in that game as well. Wait for him to slam his body into the ground, then ground pound on his weak spot. Only this time, the Womp King will create mini Womps, which apparently are called Wimps, which try to hurt you as well. I just find it really funny, just the way that they try to pound their body, but they immediately break after the attack. I just find it so funny and so cute as well. This is such a cool throwback to the first ever Super Mario 3D game, Super Mario 64. And even if you've not played Super Mario 64, this boss is still a very fun boss and it's very enjoyable. This is such a cool boss, Nintendo, and a very nice throwback. I like this one. I really like King Caliente. You fight him in the 3rd star of the Good Egg Galaxy, and throughout the fight he will shoot fireballs at you, which you need to avoid. And sometimes he'll shoot a coconut, which you can hit back at him. But sometimes King Caliente will deflect the coconuts back at you, so it sort of becomes like a tennis game. I always love fighting this boss, and it's always a joy to defeat. It really tests your quick movement skills and your reaction skills. It is amazing. His attacks are pretty slow though, but since it's only the 2nd boss in the game, that is to be expected. Now let's go back to a Super Mario Galaxy 2 boss fight. In the 2nd star of the Freezy Flake Galaxy, you'll start off by walking in the middle of a blizzard. Then you'll see a small snow planetoid, but when you grab a launch star to go to the planet just below it, the small planetoid that you were previously walking on is actually the boss fight. And then the fight begins. His name, Sorbetty. You have to star spin its bright red nose, and in the final hit, it gets faster. This boss is sort of kind of like a mixed bag. You will either take you 10 seconds to defeat or 5 whole minutes, since its move patterns is very random and very erratic. I like this boss. Just like the King Caliente boss fight, it keeps you on your toes, since you don't really know where it's going to move. And trust me when I say this, hitting the nose of the boss is a lot harder than you think. It is such a neat and fun little boss fight, and I also just love just how silly this boss fight looks. What a great fun little boss. Well done, Nintendo. You know the old saying, bigger is better, right? How about bigger than the actual planet that is on? This boss is huge. So big that Mario has to climb up one of his legs and lower a bullet bill towards his head to free the Grand Star that is powering the whole thing. Granted, yes, this is a very easy boss and you'll most likely complete it on your first go, but this boss still leaves much to be desired. Simply just due to how big this boss is and the way that you defeat it. I also love the way how the Grand Star is acting as if it's powering the whole boss. It's just so awesome. And this is the Mega Leg's younger brother. In Super Mario Galaxy 2, the Digger Leg will meet you in the Spinning Dig Galaxy. Sadly, this robot isn't as big as the Mega Leg, and it also only requires one normal power star to power the thing instead of a Grand Star to power the Mega Leg. But despite that, I actually like the Digger Leg more than I like the Mega Leg. For starters, this boss will shoot drills at you and will jump around the little planet toy that is on, and you need to use the spin drill power up to smash the glass on the boss on the other side in order to collect the power star. I honestly love this boss. It's so fun to defeat, and I don't really know why, but I love the way that it jumps. I don't know why I like it, but just the way that it jumps when it's on the planetoid, it's kind of comical. I also love how the spin drill power-up is used in this boss. Like I said, it's a really good power-up in the game, and it's used very well on this boss. It's so awesome. Yeah, you may have seen this one coming. I've spoken about this boss a lot in my top 5 best and worst Bowser battles, so what I said about this battle in that video still applies to this one, so I won't really talk about this battle for very long. Basically, the atmosphere is great, the music is fantastic, and the way you fight Bowser is brilliant. Instead of pressing an axe or a button which makes the bridge fall under Bowser, you actually fight Bowser, and it's a pretty good battle as well. It makes you feel as if the entire fate of the galaxy is in your hands and it depends on your success. It is amazing. Granted, not really the most difficult of Bowser fights, but it is still such an awesome final battle. But the best part is there are 2 bosses that I think are better than this one. Let's find out what they are. In the Shiverburn Galaxy, which by the way is one of the best galaxies in the game, Prince Picante will meet you. And what a fun boss this is. This one is really interesting because one of the reasons why I really like this fight is because the whole stage is on ice. Now this is interesting because in most Mario games that would be a bad thing since you know Mario usually slips all over the place due to the ice physics. But in this game, Mario has the ability to ice skate, which makes traversing on the ice an absolute breeze and so fun to do. So in this game, the whole stage being on ice is actually a benefit rather than a consequence. The way that you defeat Prince Picante is very similar to the way you defeat King Caliente in Galaxy 1, since this boss also shoots fireballs and coconuts that you can hit back at the boss with. Except this boss attack patterns are a lot faster and a lot more random than King Caliente's, which is even better because the only criticism I could find with the King Caliente boss fight is that it's really easy since King Caliente's attack patterns is really slow. However, in this one it's basically a faster version of King Caliente, which makes the boss all the more thrilling. To be fair, this is a pretty hard fight, and you may not defeat this boss on your first go, but regardless, it's still a blast to defeat, and with the added ice skating ability, it makes it that much more fun. You're basically on a roller coaster when fighting this boss. It is amazing. But there is one boss that is ever so slightly higher than this one. You think this one is good? Well, let me get to number 1. Even though Bowser didn't make it to number 1, his son most certainly did. The Bowser Jr. fight in Super Mario Galaxy 1 was pretty good, but very easy. But I'm not talking about the one in Galaxy 1, no. I'm talking about the one in Galaxy 2. And boy, Nintendo went all out with the Koopa Kid in this game. You'll fight Bowser Jr. twice in this game. So, in the first fight, he'll be inside of a Mega Hammer, and with the aid of Yoshi, you have to eat the bullet bills that it shoots at you and fire it back at the boss's weak spot. Afterwards, you have to fire the bullet bills into the cockpit where Bowser Jr. is powering the boss. This fight is pretty cool and fairly difficult due to the fact that you need to watch out for the hammers that can flatten you. And the bullet bills just home in on you, and the shockwaves that the hammer creates when it smashes into the ground. But the second fight is even better than the first one. Bowser Jr. is inside of a Boomsday machine in this fight, and you have to use one of the best power-ups in the game, the Cloud Flower, and float to the top of the machine using the air vents, and then ground pound into the cockpit where Bowser Jr. is sitting in. Here you need to watch out for the fire bars and the electric balls. But in the final hit, the machine rises up and it becomes a tank, which can move around in the stage. So now you need to not only watch out for the previous hazards that we just explained, but also the Boomsday machine itself, since it can move around. Both boss fights are fantastic, and without a doubt, the two best Bowser Jr. fights in the whole Mario franchise, and the two best boss fights in the Super Mario Galaxy series. What an amazing bosses is Nintendo. Absolutely fabulous. Well, that's the list. What do you think of that? If you liked the video, then be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next week.